at 10, Dream Theory. Dream Theory. I'm sure some of you are even yelling at your screens already. Dream Theory, if you're somehow unaware, suggests that perhaps everything we've seen in the FNAF games has all just been a dream, similar to how FNAF 4 is in the mind of the crying child. This theory doesn't really have any legs now and was confirmed false by Scott using Ultimate Custom Night April Fool's temporary mechanics for Nightmare Freddy, where instead of jump scaring you, he instead woke you up from a nightmare for a few seconds. This theory started after Scott asked MatPat, among other FNAF theorists, why Toy Chica would be missing her beak. He did so by adding pictures to his website, FNAFworld.com, with these questions. This question was particularly harrowing, especially combined with 4 games, 1 story, and what is seen in shadows is typically misunderstood in the mind of a child, which gave us the idea that maybe the reason Toy Chica was missing her beak when she went on the attack in FNAF 2 was because the toy version of her in FNAF 4's minigames showed her having a beak on the ground, just a little cluster of pixels. This also worked with other things, but ultimately was forgotten after Ultimate Custom Night because it was wrong. And at 9, Glitch Trap Virus. The idea that Glitch Trap could possess multiple people started when... Actually, I'm not sure when it started really, but the concept of a glitch trap army is something that we've all been worried about since MatPat talked about it, and we've been worried about who could be possessed, but so far, all we know of is Vanny. And the corruption of William only being able to possess one person at a time seems to be the way the games are going. We don't hear about Tape Girl getting possessed while Jeremy was, only after, and we only end up getting possessed after Tape Girl. And even then, when we do, we don't see a glitch trap beside us anymore. Instead, he's a plushie. So the possibility of a glitch trap army just doesn't really seem to be there. At first, I thought the Cult of Afton was going to be a thing, but the more I looked at it, the more I realized it couldn't be. And while yes, William is possessing someone, we haven't seen evidence of someone being able to possess multiple things at once. So, where did we think the multiple victims thing was coming from? It seems pretty crazy to me now. And at 8, 2 souls. Another theory that sounds crazy to me is the idea that Golden Freddy was possessed by multiple souls. It doesn't seem logical. I see no evidence that actually indicates that Golden Freddy was possessed by 2 souls. Some say that the survival logbook is enough of a hint since it's dedicated to revealing Golden Freddy's name and there just seems to be 2 spirits possessing it, but that's just conjecture because it's a matter of opinion. Sure, the book could be possessed by 2 souls, but the more likely scenario is that it's just 1 soul. Why would one communicate through faded text and one through altering text on the page? And if that was the case, why would the spirit who is communicating through altering text be Crying Child when a majority of the letters in Cassidy's name are found through numbers that have been altered? Wouldn't Cassidy's ghost be the one trying to communicate their name? Plus, then who's the one asking what we remember if Cassidy is the one spelling their name? Or I guess asking Cassidy. I mean, they also had a party in the Happiest Day minigame, right? Well then, what other entity is trying to make them remember? And even if it was the Crying Child, that doesn't mean this translates to Golden Freddy. That just comes out of nowhere, at least logically speaking. Sure, it's one of the same spirits at least, but then wouldn't they have had this conversation before if they were in Golden Freddy? Wouldn't they have talked about it inside Golden Freddy? Exactly. And it's 7, Helpful Foxy. The theory that Foxy was a good guy was really popular back in the day. Everyone thought for some reason that Foxy was actually trying to help you, since he just popped in his head instead of actually like getting all up in your face. However, this never really made sense to me since the game still ends and then you still go to the game over screen. So I feel like that's kind of, indicative of death. So I don't really understand however anyone thought that this was actually canon, but there was a small percentage of people who genuinely thought that this was true, and there were others who thought it was possible. However, Scott proved this all to be false again during the April Fool's update to Ultimate Custom Night, where he also added the Nightmare Freddy mechanics. Foxy's was based on this theory, where he would run in and instead of killing the player, he would block one of the doors. This was changed at some point later on, probably like a day later or something, but it was still funny and it was a great way to debunk this theory, even if it was like 5 games too late. Actually, it's more like 6 games too late, bro. The hell, Scott? You'll pump out a second game in 87 days, but not respond to this theory until like 6 games later? Alright. And at 6, Foam Guy. The original purple guy theory. The one that really started us on the path to dedicating way too much of our lives uncovering the hidden secrets. Oh, do you mean it was just MatPat and I? Great. great. In all seriousness though, this is the theory that got me to look closer at the Five Nights series. And if MatPat hadn't suggested that phone guy was the purple guy, I don't think that the FNAF would have been so big as it is now. This theory came from several ideas. One was that phone guy openly admits his love for Foxy, which we can see purple guy smiling at during the Foxy Go 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 minigame, even though he was probably just smiling at dead kids because, you know, that's what he's into. Phone guy also admitted his distrust of the puppet, who we at the time assumed to be the first victim and the first animatronic with sentience, so it would always make sense as to why the phone guy would describe it as always thinking, because, you know, you killed it. The object in purple guy's hand also looked like a phone, but I mean, it was also 8-bit, so all of this made us think that the phone guy was the purple guy, but honestly, it just turned out to be a spring lock crank, which we didn't even know was a thing at that point, so you know what, that's fine. I have to say though, this is pretty crazy considering how that means that the serial killer would have already been dead and the games wouldn't have had a point. But also, because like, imagine how cut and dry the games would have been, if only. Halfway through into number 5, 2 glitch traps. Now I suggested this in a previous video, but I'm going to go over it again because while crazy, I think I might actually be onto something. We always thought that glitch trap was a manifestation that was created after they scanned the circuit boards in Help Wanted to make the AI. However, there are actually 2 different versions of glitch trap present within this game. They serve different purposes though. The one that is in a full suit and is solid is what we see during the Pizza Party minigame and the Curse of Dreadbear Easter egg. But the thing is, even if you don't collect a single tape and you play through the whole game without touching them, the Pizza Party glitch trap would still be there fully formed. However, if you collect most of the tapes and don't fully reassemble glitch trap, the form you see standing right behind you looks like a hologram. These seem to be 2 separate versions of the character, since you can see one in the Pizza Party minigame without even picking up a single tape. So what gives? It's my idea, even if understandably a crazy one, that William cloned the glitch trap code and became a separate anomaly. That explains how the Pizza Party glitch trap is able to move the curtain, and why William's glitch trap can't manifest while the tapes are separate. It honestly isn't even too crazy, actually, so boom! Facts! And at 4, the one you should not have killed. I've said this before in multiple videos, however I am certain that the one you should not have killed is in fact Crying Child rather than Cassidy, since Cassidy would have had to possess Golden Freddy, and as I stated earlier, we have not seen evidence of anyone possessing multiple animatronics, let alone a human and an animatronic at once. And with Crying Child dying in the hospital at the end of FNAF 4 with no animatronics around, I bet his agony would latch on to the thing he blamed for his death, his father. Because let's be honest, without William, Crying Child wouldn't have died. I mean, like, at least in the sense of, like, with William, he was still born, but if William hadn't built the animatronics, he wouldn't have died. Since, you know, he did make the animatronics with enough power to crush a human skull, because that was not a spring lock failure. There are no spring locks that can fail in the mouth because they've already been triggered, so them failing in that state would just be them opening, resulting in no damage. Plus the mouth would only need hydraulics, not spring locks, because no body part would be in the mouth if someone was inside the suit. Look, I know it goes against the norm. I understand that, but honestly, to me it has to be the case. It's only logical. Getting close to the end in number 3, Crying Michael. Do I think that Michael is a robot version of Crying Child with fake memories that was programmed to believe he killed his younger brother? Not exactly, but this is still one of my finer theories and doesn't get contradicted by Crying Child also being the one you should not have killed, since this doesn't really involve any form of spirit. My theory was that Michael was only built after Crying Child died in an attempt to put him back together, like we see William say in his final moments, similar to how Charlie from the novel series was secretly a robot. The memories we see could easily be because there was a psychic friend Fredbear in the area, which could have been used for the camera memories, like how in the novels Henry used a tripod and camera to make memories for the Charlie bot. Yet this time, William made the memories of killing his younger brother so that this child wouldn't go to a Freddy's location due to guilt, so he wouldn't end up getting crushed by an animatronic or find out what his father was doing. This was supported by the majority of the logbook and really is the only thing that explains how Mike knows what the nightmare animatronics look like, since the only time those appear are in FNAF VR and FNAF 4, which takes place in Crying Child's head. I still don't know how they showed up in FNAF VR though. Actually I do, I have a theory on that, go check it out. Penultimately, and in number 2, we play as Henry. Orville Elephant was actually the trigger for this theory, and it started because of one line of dialogue from Ultimate Custom Night. Quote, "He tried to release you, he tried to release us. but I'm not gonna let that happen. I will keep you here. I will hold you here, no matter how many times they burn us. That line is being spoken by the one you should not have killed, but yet draws parallels between when William was freed and when the rest of them were freed. The only times we've seen these animatronics attempted to be released was in FNAF 3's Fire, FNAF 6's Fire, and in the Happiest Day minigame. And this makes me think, but how? Since we know that the FNAF 6 Fire was started by Henry, which means that the FNAF 3 Fire was started by him too. But then the original 5 animatronics weren't at Fazbear Fright. They were released in the Happiest Day minigame. So if that's the case, how did Henry release them there? Notice Orville only identifies one person as having tried to release them. And if the one you should not have killed is in fact Cassidy, that means that she got released in that minigame, but is still released by this he. But to our understanding, in FNAF 3 we play as Mike. This in fact cannot be the case if this line is true, and makes sense given the sister location's secret ending, since Mike says I'm going to come find you, and then it shows a burnt down Fazbear Fright, indicating that these two events happen at similar times. So after Fazbear Fright's fire, Mike had not found his dad yet, meaning that the one we had to play as in FNAF 3 is Henry, since he tried to release William and the missing kids. Finally, and at number 1, the name Jeremy. Now here's the theory that I mentioned at the top of the video that is absolutely bonkers. I'm sure it's not true, but it's fun to speculate nonetheless. What if the recurring name of Jeremy isn't a troll from Scott, but rather a clever detail that nobody's picked up on in the right way? We know that William was being kept alive thanks to the use of remnant injections at the beginning and then the spirit of a child who had possessed him to keep him alive so that he would suffer. What if that same concept, but aside from, the dead kid, could be applied to Jeremy? Well, I mean, I guess not the dead kid, but like the dead victim, since that is supposed to be the child who goes on to possess Bonnie. What if instead of possessing Bonnie, he also used Remnant to stay alive and went after William, or just continued on with his life until he saw William again when playtesting the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience? When he saw the man who originally tried to take his life, it definitely would have driven him crazy, causing him to cut his face off so the pain would stop. I mean, there are plenty of holes in this theory. I know that, but I'm sure that we could find explanations for those with a bit of research. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head here, but if we actually look into it, I'm sure that there's something we can do. There isn't much behind this right now, but if you wanted a more in-depth video, I could do it. Hopefully. And it's Aunt Elizabeth's fault. Every time we talk about the Five Nights at Freddy's series, we always talk about it from our perspective, where we have some sort of godlike ability to see a whole bunch of key dates, locations, and events that show us the Afton family storyline. However, we don't know the whole story, and we don't know everything. One key thing that we don't know is why. Why did William start killing? Some say it's because he lost his kids, but the time that crying child gets chomped is at the same time we can see Elizabeth get scooped. We can tell by the stomach mouth on the nightmare animatronics and the empty girls room in FNAF 4's house, but what if only one of those was an accident? We know something happened to the mother of the Afton family. Maybe she left William for someone younger and a little less, child murdery. Or maybe she died in a tragic accident, like perhaps giving birth. We don't know which of the two young children is the oldest, whether it's the crying child or Elizabeth, but we can assume that it's going to be the crying child because he's older and seems to be a little more mature because he didn't, listens to his father and doesn't go touch baby. But if the Afton mother died while giving birth to Elizabeth, resulting in William resenting her for it and wanting revenge? Revenge in the form of a 7-foot-tall robotic clown baby. And at 9, brainwashed. We all know about The Immortal and the Restless, the vampiric soap opera from sister location that still has a better love story than Twilight. But what we don't know is what it means, if anything. Why would it be placed there? Why would the main character wear purple? And why would he keep saying the baby isn't mine? Well, there's a simple explanation for it all. Brainwashing. Okay, that answer is not simple in the slightest, but the community generally believes that this could be a representation of William, who is represented by the vampire in purple, and his wife, who is represented by Clara in the show, that perhaps one of the children isn't truly his. This betrayal could have resulted in William's first kill, since plenty of serial killers start out like that. But what if it's something more? What if, in reality, the baby isn't his because he stole it, or maybe kidnapped a kid and brainwashed him into being theirs? Perhaps after losing a child, or maybe he brainwashed a kid who saw Elizabeth get scooped, and in that moment of trauma he was in his most vulnerable state. It's not that outlandish of a story with child abducting and possessed animatronics coming from a Chuck E. Cheese parody, especially when that story has doors that make no sense. They shouldn't be closing with power. And it ain't the Mustard Man. Now, by no means is this an unknown theory, okay? I know that most of you will have heard this one before, but I want to remind you of it because it's not talked about very often and presents really interesting ideas that help solve a lot of problems. In one of his theory videos, MatPat suggests that there is a very real possibility that the mustard van or yellow character we play as in the FNAF 6 Midnight Motorist minigame is not William like we've all been thinking, but instead could be Henry, William's business partner who ended up helping to launch the Freddy's restaurants and unintentionally starting his murder spree. I mean, the evidence is there and it makes a lot more sense than it being William. One of the most annoying parts about this lore is that Circus Babies isn't supposed to open until after Freddy's closes, but the girl's room in FNAF 4 is empty, thus implying that she was already snatched by Baby. But what if that was Charlotte? What if that room belonged to Henry's daughter, the puppet, the one killed by William? Then everything would make sense. That would mean that the crying child is William's son and Foxy Bro isn't Michael Afton. It changes so much but can make so much more sense. Go watch Matt's video if you haven't because he has more time to explain it than I do and he can do it way better. It was his theory, so. And its 7 original intentions. The original FNAF group of animatronics are seen as the first victims, the missing children from 1985, and the grandparents of all other dead animatronic possessing children. But what if we've been misunderstanding this the whole time? It was suggested to me by Jack that perhaps all they wanted was your help. You end up getting fired in that game for tampering with the animatronics, among other things. So you were messing with them. And from what we know about the series, you were trying to set their souls free. What if that's all they wanted you to do? Sure, you're playing as Michael, who looks a lot like William, their killer, but surely they would be able to see that you aren't him. They could be trying to get you to help, but they don't know their own strength because, you know, they were children. And then they possessed animatronic animals with strength 10 times greater than theirs. I mean, sure, they scare you, but you don't actually see them lunge at you unless it's Freddy when you run out of power in FNAF VR. So maybe they're just trying to get your attention, because, you know, you're looking at a screen. Damn millennial. I know he's not a millennial, but like, you know what I mean. And 6, animatronic testing. We know that Nightmare animatronics from FNAF 4 are hallucinations. We know this thanks to Nightmare Freddy's voice lines from Ultimate Custom Night, one of which says, "I am now given flesh to be your tormentor," and another one that says, "Now there is more than an illusion to fear," suggesting that before he wasn't real, but now he is, because, you know, you're in hell. Now obviously William wasn't testing real animatronics, but perhaps he was using his son as an experiment for the illusion sound discs we hear about in the FNAF novels that make an appearance on Funtime Freddy's Insides and Sister Location. Perhaps before he made the Funtimes he was testing the sound discs on his son in order to make sure that they weren't faulty, because, you know, a giant clown animatronic that's like 7 feet tall would definitely scare the absolute living crap out of any child that it's trying to abduct. So it can use a disc to look friendlier, that's for damn sure. It could even turn itself into the most appealing thing to that child, which is insanely overpowered and sounds like it should be used by a politician. Also, I know this is not a new theory, but you really think I could come up with 10 new theories? Even with help, that would be hard, okay? Halfway through at number 5, Purple Guy Origins. The Mustard Man, or the yellow guy from Midnight Motorist, could possibly be Henry, but it could still be William. And while yes, you could explain the choice in color away as just Scott being Scott, I think that there's something more. Now keep in mind that this is my theory and that I have not seen this talked about online, so if you have heard this or any of these on this list before, I apologize. But we've been associating the purple guy with William Afton, yes, but it's always been the killer version of William Afton. There was a time before he started killing, so how could we show that this character had not been corrupted by anger and hate yet, when all we know about his visuals is a color? Well, change the color. I genuinely believe that the yellow guy from Midnight Motorist is William Afton before he started killing. He hadn't been corrupted by anger or hate yet. That's why he's yellow. Don't get me wrong, the books showed us that he wasn't a good guy, straight up kicking Elizabeth at one point from what I can remember, but he hadn't killed anyone at the time of Midnight Motorist. Sure, it kind of throws some holes into what we've originally thought, because we thought that he had just killed Charlotte, but we only think that, okay? It hasn't been confirmed. And yes, he isn't allowed into juniors, but maybe he was just banned from the bar because he's an angry drunk who comes home and kicks his children. We don't know. It's always a possibility, okay? And until Scott says otherwise, so don't come for me in the comments. Unless it's confirmed, you can't yell at me, okay? And at 4, Matt Pat working on the movie. The FNAF movie has been in the works for a while. Scott has been hard at work writing and rewriting scripts in order to make them worthy of production, since, we all have extremely high expectations at this point. However, there was a recent conversation on Twitter between Matt Pat, our Lord and Savior of FNAF, and Jason Blum, founder of Blumhouse Productions, aka the company that's making the FNAF movie. They also made Paranormal Activity. There was a whole conversation between the two on Twitter where Jason said that he had discovered Matt Pat's theories and was in deep, saying that he's gonna watch them all 10 times. Eventually, Matt Pat responded saying that he would love to have Jason on the show to talk about the movie and ask him plenty of questions, such as if it's a lore story based on the games or books, or if it's just going to be another story set in the same universe. To which Jason said it would be amazing to come on his show. However, how would Jason just be learning about Matt Pat now? Okay, he tweeted out saying that he found it on September 1st. So, how did nobody mention him beforehand? But there's also the point of the audience. Matt Pat is a member of the FNAF community, but has more ties with the fans than he does with production companies behind the games. Meaning that if they really wanted to make the movie good, they would most likely bring Matt Pat on. And the fact that there was a blatant conversation really shows that perhaps this is what they've been doing for a while, or the whole time. It's probably a recent thing. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, we are Freddy. This one's also mine. There are a lot of weird things happening in FNAF VR, but you need to remember, in Help Wanted we play as a game tester for a game in the FNAF verse. So the game I play is different to the game I'm testing in the game I'm playing. Get it? So my question is, who do we play as in the game that we're testing? My theory is that we play as Freddy. Well, not the animatronic, but rather Gabriel, the child who goes on to possess the Freddy animatronic. Why? Well, honestly, because of the pizza party ending. When we enter the back room, we will see pizza and cake on tables beside us, and then Glitchtrap ushers us onto the stage. When we get out there, we get stuffed into Freddy, as made evident by the mic in our right hand. Also, this is my right hand. Don't come for me in the comments. I know I have a thing with directions, okay? This is my right hand. But the thing is, Glitchtrap is an anomaly. A literal glitch in the code. Like, he shouldn't exist. So, how is he able to control that ending? I don't think he does, or rather he uses that ending to collect our soul. The two game testers before us, Tape Girl and Jeremy, also have run-ins with Glitchtrap, but we don't know if Tape Girl makes it out alive, and we know that Jeremy doesn't. If you know this series, that name should be setting off alarm bells, because, well, we know from FNAF 6 that Bonnie gets possessed by a kid named Jeremy because of the gravestone ending. And here we are with another Jeremy. However, this one cuts his face off after seeing Glitchtrap with the paper cutter in another room. But what else did we see in the room with our pizza? Chica and Bonnie animatronics. Chica without her arm, and Bonnie missing his face. I believe Tape Girl was named Susie, and now Glitchtrap has 3 of the 5 original missing children, and he needs only 2 more to truly escape the game. And ultimately, in at number 2, no plot. When Scott made the original Five Nights at Freddy's game, it was a last attempt, one final effort to become a game designer after years of having unsuccessful releases. Well, not as successful as FNAF at least. But FNAF absolutely blew up. It became so popular that everybody and their mom was playing or talking about it. Hell, my group even made part of our drama exam performance on FNAF in grade 10. But Scott never expected that. He released the second game 87 days after the first, and got everyone arguing over whether it was a sequel or a prequel. But did he even know? There are so many points that conflict with others from a lore and timeline standpoint from the original games to now, and while yes, Scott can't remember so many games in such tiny details, he couldn't have thought about this lore from the first game. There are many compilations of Scott listening to Matt Pat and Markiplier that make some wonder if Scott even knows where he's going with the series next. So far, he's just been putting out a load of short stories and not really focusing on Security Breach, the new FNAF game. But maybe that's because he doesn't know what to do next. Finally, in at number 1, Foxy Bro and Crying Child. Now, this is my own personal theory that I haven't seen anywhere else on the internet, alright? If it has been put out there by someone else, I couldn't find it. So, don't hate on me in the comments. This is my personal theory, my evidence. I'm the one who researched this, okay? I personally believe that Foxy Bro and the Crying Child are the same person. I know it sounds weird, but hear me out before you rage at me in the comments, please. Until the release of the security logbook, we thought that Michael Afton was Foxy Bro, the one who scares the crying child using the ripped off head of his Foxy plush. Not cool, bro. But after the release of the security logbook, everything we thought we knew was upended. Mike somehow knew what the nightmare animatronics looked like, but still knew about exotic butters and casual bongos. But how could this be possible? We saw the crying child die. And now we're back to thinking that Michael Afton is Foxy Bro because of the simple chewing gum Easter egg from the logbook and the recent Step Closer short story from the Fazbear Frights books. But what if it doesn't have to be one or the other? What if they're the same person? The logbook is constantly asking Mike if he remembers his name, if he can remember things like past dreams, or if the purple plastic telephone was his favorite toy. If he was alive this whole time, why would he forget these things? Why would he have so much in common with his brother that he even knows what the nightmare animatronics look like? They were hallucinations. It doesn't make sense. It could be possible that after getting chopped by Fredbear in the pizzeria, Crying Child actually does die, but is then put back together by William like we thought at the start. Brought back, but instead of as himself, as his older brother, being implanted with memories that would make you feel guilty about killing your younger brother with a simple prank, making you stay away from the restaurants because being there reminds you of your brother, which was actually you, allowing your father to continue his killing spree free from your prying eyes. After all, before you died, you saw what he was. Remember what will happen if he catches you. It also explains why he would need to keep cameras on his children to make sure that they don't remember their name, who they were before death. And it would make sense that we view everything from Mike's perspective, hence why we see the two children together. We play as Mike, so of course we would see flashbacks and stuff through his eyes, and see ourselves with our brother, even though it's us, because we, as Mike, remember having a little brother. The nail in the coffin for me was actually a fairly minute detail I didn't think anyone else noticed or mentioned. The house as shown in the FNAF 4 minigames. The FNAF 4 minigames have you exploring your house as well as the path to Freddy's, but the thing is, we only see two rooms. We see our room, which has our plushies and such, and we see a girl's room, presumably Elizabeth's, but there aren't any others. Next to the TV there is a door, yes, but I have never seen a door that leads to a hallway, only a door that leads to a staircase to the basement or a door to a master bedroom. A staircase that went up wouldn't have a door, and we don't see one in the house. And there was no vacant room, so Mike couldn't be living in the basement. And he does live at home, since we see in the Midnight Motorist game he is sitting there on the couch watching TV. There is no room for him, because he was created after the Crying Child died at the hands of Fredbear. Crying Child is Michael Afton, and so is Foxy Bro. They're both the same person. The question is, did he ever remember? What do you think about that, MatPat? You asked us to figure out what he was forgetting. I feel like I have it figured out, okay? He forgot himself.
And at 10, Reluctant Tape Girl. The concept of glitch trap invading minds has been around since before the announcement of Security Breach, and more so the idea that Tape Girl was one of his first victims of this glitch trap brain virus. Jeremy would have been the first one, however he cut his own face off using a guillotine paper cutter in an attempt to get glitch trap out of his head, so Tape Girl I guess would be the first surviving victim, as long as she's still alive. Not only that, but could Tape Girl have been infected and really be Vanny? It's a question that we've all had on our minds, and honestly we don't know if it's the case. It would be nice since it would add this sense of connection to the new killer since we worked with them in Help Wanted, but it's unlikely just based on the voice actor, since Vanny and Tape Girl from my understanding are voiced by two different people. And while this isn't exactly a deal breaker, it's definitely something we should take into consideration. On the contrary, we could say that the new voice actor is because it's glitch trap talking through Vanny, as evidenced by her at some points glitching while speaking, as we hear in the Security Breach trailer. And at 9, Glitching Grave. The FNAF VR DLC, The Curse of Dreadbear, is honestly my favorite game ever. The Corn Maze minigame is both horrifying but awesome, and while I hardly ever lose that game mode, it's fairly common to see the game over screen after the Corn Maze and many other games like The Hallway. However, on this screen, while Dreadbear reaches his hand towards you and Foxy attempts to intimidate you with his hook, you can see a few graves on a small hill. By boundary breaking, we can actually go and see these graves, and if you do, you'll notice something a little odd. A total of 8 graves stand in a circle with one in the middle. Well, like total as in like in total with the one in the middle it's 8 graves. 6 of the outer graves obviously represent the original 6 victims, the missing children who go on to inhabit the original 5 animatronics, Susie, Jeremy, Gabriel, Fritz, and Cassidy, as well as the puppet, Charlotte. Yet the final grave may remain a mystery. But with some educated guessing, we can assume that this additional 7th grave is Jeremy that Glitch Trap took by driving him to chop off his face. The greatest clue, however, is the grave in the middle. That is purple and black and glitching. This is obviously representing William, who is actually dead after the events of the Man in Room 1280, and the final nail in the coffin is the bunny ear texture running across this grave, because, you know, he dresses like a bunny. Hashtag William Afton is a furry. It's a thing. It's canon now. And it ain't meant to lose. Were we meant to lose FNAF VR? Was it rigged against us from the beginning? Is the only way to truly win to not play at all, or by removing the headset before it's too late? Well, based on some Reddit theorists, yes indeed. The main game of FNAF VR is actually kind of hidden, and our main objective is to collect 16 tapes that slowly give us more and more info about what's truly going on behind the scenes. But no matter what tapes we find in what mini games, they always unlock in the same order. 1 to 16, always. No skipping, no finding 16 first, and that's intentional in the game we play, since tape 15 tells us not to find all 16, and if we found that one first, then why would we continue? So the game itself sets us up to be kinda screwed. But did it prevent us from winning? Since even if you follow Tape Girl's instructions on tape 16, you end up locked in a room, presumably in your own mind, while Glitch Trap takes over, and if we don't do the ritual properly, we get merged with him anyway. So if anything, we actually are in more control if we don't follow her instructions. But does that mean we win, or were we always meant to lose? And it's 7, Bunny Call. The Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call has some shocking implications for the FNAF series, and it relates most to FNAF VR's story when talking about the games. Since in the Man in Room 1280, William requests to be taken to a Fazbear Entertainment storehouse, where he promptly explodes. This would be weird on its own, but then the man who brought him there notices bloody footprints leading towards a shelf. On that shelf is presumably circuit boards, which end up being the same circuit boards scanned to help make the AI in Help Wanted. But this also introduces a virus, an entity that was never supposed to be in the game. That entity, as we learn, is Glitch Trap. But how did this work out so well? How did William's agony or soul end up becoming sentient code in a video game? Even if you possess a hard drive, that doesn't mean you end up becoming the files on that hard drive, right? I guess we don't really know how possession works in the FNAF universe, so it's impossible to say, but how did William's circuit board end up being scanned? Or was this the plan from the beginning? And it's 6, First Suit. Glitch Trap is very clearly a callback to William using the spring Bonnie suit, but why is he not using that same suit, or at least a more mechanical one, in the game? It's simple. Do you remember what happened to him? He got spring locked. It would have killed him if not for a mischievous little spirit who refused to let go. So why, if he could choose his own form, would he manifest in the suit that caused him agonizing pain for over 30 years? Exactly. The question here is, was this William's first Bonnie suit? It has the stitch marks that a normal fabric suit would have, especially from back then, and it clearly has a Chuck E. Cheese employee that's inside kind of vibe, so it definitely could be, but we know thanks to Faz Facts and later information that some of the first animatronics that William ever made were the Funtime robots that we see in Sister Location. And these animatronics weren't even used until Circus Babies was open after Freddy's announced that it would be closing. So that would mean that the Spring Bonnie suit was in full working condition either before those or shortly after. And if this wasn't the first suit, why would he choose to look like this and stand out in a game that is all about looking back at the past? Halfway through into number 5, Agony Boom. Like I suggested in number 7, I believe that this entire thing was planned. Maybe not from the beginning, but at least from when William discovered how remnant, or I guess possession, works. Because how does a man who has been possessed by a kid for years, who was living off of life support somehow, who survived multiple fires and a spring locking, end up randomly exploding when within proximity to something that he needed to continue, I guess, at least in a way, living? Since technically, according to the dictionary definition of alive, William is not alive. But the thing that bothered me about this is that he exploded. Like, how did he just randomly explode? Just spontaneous combustion? Sure, I can get that. You catch on fire, whatever. But spontaneous combustion? No, I don't think it was random. I think that he planned it. That he had a bomb planted inside of him before he was even spring locked. Too many things worked out for him in this sense. Like, why would scanning circuit boards help improve or even make AI for animatronics in a video game? That doesn't make sense. How is it that they scanned the exact board that William had attached himself to? And like, how did any of this work out for him? because he had planned it out. He put a bomb inside him so that when he could finally die, he would die in agony, allowing his spirit to grab hold of something. He asked to be brought to that warehouse since he knew he had already set in motion the events that would lead to his next incarnation. He planned it all from the beginning. Plus, it explains how he just, randomly exploded. Because that's still a thing. In it for the cult. While we were fairly certain that William has a hold on Tape Girl, we know he has a hold on Vanny. But is there anyone else that William is controlling? Map had suggested it even before Security Breach was announced, since the FNAF VR DLC was released in fact. The idea that Glitchtrap is controlling multiple individuals at once. Of course this would be proven if Tape Girl and Vanessa are two different people, but since we have no frame of reference as to what Tape Girl looks like, we can't be certain. We know how he got a hold of her, but is she still alive, or did William get rid of that loose end and grab onto someone else? Did we play as Vanny? Like, was Vanny the game tester that we were playing as in Help Wanted that gets gotten by Glitchtrap at the end of the game? We don't know. So far we know that he controls one individual, but he was still appearing in Help Wanted. However, when we beat the game and merge with him and get locked in our own mind, the actual Glitchtrap that we see standing behind us in the main lobby goes away, and we're left with a plushie. So maybe he isn't powerful enough to manifest in multiple places, and when he's controlling someone he isn't anywhere else. It's an interesting concept, but what do you think? Is Glitchtrap able to control multiple people at once, or just one at a time? Let me know down below. I think based on the plushie, I think that he can only control one person. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Princess Quest. Princess Quest is a mini-game present on the mobile ports of FNAF VR. They added this mini-game as a way to make up for Glitchtrap's absence due to size constraints, cause, FNAF VR was never meant to be on a phone. However, this game features quite a similar theme to the main version that multiple people pointed out. You play as a girl running through a castle lighting braziers, 16 of them to be exact, and when you light the 16th, a horrific abomination appears. This has been discovered to be Glitchtrap still present in the game, since audio from that moment when you speed it up and reverse it says, "I always come back, let me out." And text that is read in code says that signature line of "I always come back." However, I think this can reveal more to us than we thought. You see, we've been questioning if we played as Vanny in FNAF VR or if Tape Girl was Vanny, and I think that this game, that Princess Quest, actually tells us. If this game is meant to represent the whole of Help Wanted, with the 16 braziers representing the 16 tapes and Glitchtrap appearing after you find the 16th, or I guess light the 16th, our character in Princess Quest is in fact female. It's Princess Quest after all. So by proxy, our character in FNAF VR would also be female. So does that settle it? Are we actually Vanny? Probably. Penultimately, in at number 2, Intended. Tape Girl tells us that Glitchtrap isn't an intentional part of the game, but to me that's a load of BS. Glitchtrap is an odd character, an accidental addition to FNAF VR that somehow ends up interacting with the environment and altering aspects of the game. Like, what? I've always questioned why Glitchtrap is able to move around the curtain and even seemingly put us in the Freddy suit at the end of the game. Like, sure, he's technically a spirit, but he's still game code and would have to obey the laws of such. Right? So how is he able to move things like the curtain? Like when we're in the pizza party minigame in the final room, he pulls the curtain aside and then gestures for us to come in. How does he do that? When I literally can't move anything unless it's supposed to be interactable. I can't move that curtain. Simple. He wasn't an accident. If he was a glitch, unintentional, how would this ending make sense? Who would have put us in the Freddy suit? We wouldn't crawl in there ourselves after all. Was there another character there? Did Glitchtrap replace them? No, he didn't. He was actually meant to be there, since you can see this ending without collecting all 16 tapes. And if you don't collect all 16 tapes, he wouldn't be reassembled yet. He wouldn't be able to interact with you. Glitchtrap was an intentional feature of this game, which makes me think, who else does William have under his palm? Yes, I said palm. Was it intentional? No. Did I say it? Am I sticking by it? Yes. Finally, in at number 1, Resurrection. We don't know much about the upcoming FNAF game Security Breach. So far, we know that there are at least 5 animatronics and a whole pizzaplex for us to explore, and the game will have a day and night cycle. But then Afton will somehow be involved thanks to, Vanny, another goddamn rabbit killer. However, we also think that Afton is going to come back yet again, since in the gameplay trailer released for the game by PlayStation, at the very end we see a seemingly metallic arm reach out from behind some boxes. Some believe that this is the Stitch Wraith, others believe that this is William.
I think it's William, since we can see the reflection of purple light coming off the arm. And at this point, I can't even wear a purple shirt without you guys calling me the purple guy. So if there's purple light anywhere in anything FNAF, it's gonna be William, alright? Also, one Twitter user going by the name @officialz3royt mentioned me, @centimeter_Monroe, and showed me that the hand that comes out covered in purple light looks an awful lot like Nightmare Freddy's arm. Which, if this is the case, opens up a whole new can of worms that I don't want to have to deal with. Because if that is the case, Nightmare Animatronics never had a physical form. So if he does come out with the freaking Nightmare Animatronic endoskeleton, I'm gonna be mad. Okay, that's all. I'm gonna be pissed. This, combined with the fact that he appears to be trying to escape in this game, indicates that he will definitely be successful. I mean, you can't have a new killer for too long. We're gonna miss William. I mean, I'm not. I'm certainly not, but hey. That's what happens.
Number 10, where to next? So one of the theories I've been wondering about is, what do all of these locations mean? And where could we be heading next on this tour? We've been to some interesting places, a forest, a few houses, or restaurants, not really sure, a cave, but where are we headed next? Episode 4 seems to be where we break the mold a bit in terms of the formula of these episodes. Instead of us ending the episode with everyone back on the tour bus after singing, Freddy and friends end the episode walking on. Is it possible that this means they might already be at their final destination? And perhaps they, don't need to drive anymore, they can just walk there. And what would make the most sense for that final destination? I feel like it's very likely we'll be heading to the Mega Pizzaplex to meet some new characters in these final episodes as we get closer to Security Breach's release.
And at 9, guest starring. The idea that Glitchtrap and Vanny would be appearing in these videos has already been confirmed. I mean, like, the idea about it, not that it's actually gonna happen. I mean, it did happen, but I'm not talking about just the glitches as puzzles or surprise characters. I mean genuine animated characters guest starring in the show, and I think that's where it's headed. Currently, we're 4 episodes in, and those 4 episodes have all featured a specific animatronic heavily. We've had Freddy, then Chica, then Bonnie, then Foxy, and now, seemingly with 2 more episodes to go, the next one will be revealing the month most likely that the game comes out. But who will the show be focusing on now that Foxy's joined the gang? I mean, it would make sense for it to be Vanny and Glitchtrap, but more specifically Vanny, since she will be the main antagonist of the game, and this is a wonderful way of confirming that she and the security guard Vanessa are 2 different people, since they've established to take the mask off the character they catch at the end of the episode, and then get surprised by the results, even if it's a robot and everyone else is a robot. So, could Vanny be the next one up, followed by Glitchtrap and an Afton face reveal? I think it would probably glitch out before we actually saw his face though, honestly, so, I don't know.
Number 8, where have we been? So we've talked about where we might end up, who we might see in these next episodes, but where exactly are we coming from on our tour? Well, the first location seems to be a forest, and honestly, other than, I don't know, maybe FNAF World, I'm not exactly sure what the relevance of this location could be. I haven't figured that one out yet. But the second episode seems to resemble a lot the Freddy Fazbear's location we see in FNAF 2, right down to the checkered floors and the half-papered walls. The third episode also seems to have a familiar feel, at least when it comes to the internal appearance of the building. While externally this place looks the same, inside the hallway resembles something out of the house from FNAF 4. The windows over the doors kinda look similar to the windows that we see on the exterior of that house. Once again, the hallway is half papered, which is also something that you might notice in the house in FNAF 4. Even the plant at the back seems to have a similar color design scheme to a plant you can sometimes spot near the side table by the bed. The fourth episode location is also maybe a little bit more abstract, like the first. It could either be a reference to sister location, which is underground, like the cave we roam in, or it could be a more direct reference to the walkway we seem to run through in the Security Breach trailer, located beneath the Mega Pizzaplex, hewn into rocky terrain.
And in 7, Chill Bonnie. Okay, bro, honestly, in all these episodes, Bonnie is the chillest dude ever. I don't know why. I don't know what he's on, but honestly, I'd like to borrow some. I have no idea why Bonnie is being so chill in these videos. Some thought it's because he was sentient or aware that everyone is a robot, so there aren't really consequences. Some thought it's because he wanted to be dismantled, which is dark. And I thought it was because he was going to be the one to recruit Foxy onto the team. However, for some reason, they still ran away, which makes no sense to me, since why would you run if you weren't scared? weird, but whatever. Honestly, it could be because Bonnie isn't going to be in Security Breach and that's why he's so chill and why this episode was glitching out more than the others, but after the discovery in episode 4, I think that they were just introducing the concept of the purple glitch so that we wouldn't be as suspicious in the next episode, but honestly, I think that they should have made the other sections pink instead of yellow so it would have been harder to catch, but hey, either way, Bonnie's a stoner, confirmed at this point.
Number 6. Your friend and mine, Montgomery. While we've talked about the possibility of Glitchtrap and Vanny making a more cartoonish appearance perhaps in the next few episodes, it's also possible that they could be used to introduce us to some of the new animatronics featured in Security Breach. One such animatronic that might show up here is Montgomery Gator. We don't know that much about him yet, and considering that he is a friend of Freddy's in the band, it's likely that either Montgomery or I don't know, maybe Roxanne could be the focal points of future episodes. Although Foxy is also joined in now, so I mean that's also a possible character who could be prominently featured.
Halfway through into number 5, FNAF 4. There is an undeniable connection between Freddy and Friends on Tour and FNAF 4, thanks to the TV that also ends up indicating the year the game takes place in. On that same screen we can find a TV show called Fredbear and Friends, which some of us just took to show that the Freddy's brand was bigger than we thought, but it also strengthens a connection we've been debating since first seeing Gregory, that he seems to resemble Crying Child an awful lot, and the fact that this show, promoting a game that Gregory is a playable character in, is called Freddy and Friends instead of Fredbear and Friends is certainly not something to gloss over. This is a direct link to FNAF 4, but in a slightly more subtle way, and I mean like very slight. But does this mean that we'll start to learn more about Crying Child as a character? Will we be given his name? Or is his name actually Gregory? Is Greg the Crying Child? We don't know. But I guess we'll have to wait to find out. December 17th, I'm calling it. Same day No Way Home comes out, I'm calling it.
Number 4. Stitch Wraith. In episode 1 we get a glitched out frame that reveals a creepy face which appears to be mid-jump scare based on its positioning. The face is eerie with big white glowing eyes peering out of a white mask-like face. Many fans have theorized, and I think we're kinda in agreement here too on this channel, that this could be the face of the Stitch Wraith who appears in the Fazbear Frights books. The Stitch Wraith is a character that we've been pondering on for a while in regards to when or if it might make its way from the books to the games, and it looks like Security Breach might be the game that introduces us to this character, which would also be pretty momentous if we also get that time traveling ball pit, as that could be two direct connections from the books to the games, which otherwise seem to kind of take place within different continuities thus far.
Getting close to the end, and in number 3, new animatronic. In episode 3, we got our first look at a random new animatronic presumably appearing in Security Breach, but we have no idea where or even how because this guy looks freaking massive. All we see are its feet, which looks like hands, but you can't even see it on screen. This thing is so tall. I'm currently calling it the tall boy, but my question is where the hell did it come from and where does it fit? Because this seems too damn big to fit into a mall-sized pizzaplex. Unless it's shorter than I'm imagining, or the pizzaplex is bigger than I think, but either way, this doesn't really make sense considering how the freaking hell does this thing actually fit into the gameplay. Like, this came out of nowhere, unless it's just like a passive animatronic that walks around and doesn't really do anything other than block your path momentarily.
Number 2. Bonnie Host. One thing I have been theorizing for some time is that while Gregory seems to be a potential victim in Security Breach, if Glitchtrap does return, Gregory won't be the desired host for him. Neither will Vanny. We have all theorized for some time about what William Afton's motives could have been for the killings and all the experimentation, and many fans believe that immortality is his end goal. If this is true, then an animatronic host really seems like the best bet. One animatronic that is noticeably absent in the trailer? Bonnie. Hence why I believe Bonnie could very well be our next host for William Afton's code, spirit, or essence, whatever you want to call it. Of course, Foxy is absent too, but Scott Cawthon has stated before that he's thought of Bonnie as the scariest animatronic. Also, if you want to carry on, you know, that bunny killer theme, then Bonnie just seems to make the most sense here.
And finally, and in number 1, Glitchtrap roaming. This idea actually came from the YouTube comments of user HitBlank on our community post from when I found the hidden Glitchtrap in episode 4. We apparently weren't the first people to actually find it because someone found it on Reddit, but I found it on my own, so I'm still proud of it. But this comment suggested that Glitchtrap is now roaming through YouTube, and that's a pretty damn terrifying suggestion, but it can also explain a load of issues in the series. If this game is supposed to take place at the same time as FNAF AR, and Glitchtrap is controlling Vanny, that should be impossible. However, if Glitchtrap is on YouTube, YouTube now in 2021, it can explain a whole load of issues, since basically Glitchtrap could be using YouTube to try and travel. Appearing in these videos now but getting uploaded later on thanks to people either playing the Fredbear virtual experience in the future and then putting it on their channels or something similar. Meaning he'd get uploaded to YouTube and then use it to travel back and create vanity through these videos. Look, I know it's a stretch, but just bear with me. It also means that he could secretly be in these videos.